Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. So let me ask you, Mr. President, when you were first elected as the democratically elected president of Ghana, how was it like for you? After 19 years of one man's rule, how was it like for you?
Naturally, I just couldn't believe that it had happened at last. But I believed it would happen someday. And you remember I contested then President Rawlings in '96. And well, he was declared the winner after a 5-day wait before the Electoral Commission declared. So that gave me the impression that perhaps I had made a dent. And since it was going to be his last term by the Constitution, with him ending 2000, I said, should my party give me the nod to be the candidate, very likely I would make it in 2000. That's what happened. So yes, I was excited and happy, but it was there in my mind that there was a real possibility that I would win. So I wasn't overexcited. Rather, I was thinking of the challenges that had more or less accumulated. One, with the heavy indebtedness of the country. Two, with the collapse of the currency. Three, Ghana had been under the rule of one man for almost 20 years. First 10 years, he was a military dictator. The remaining, he converted himself to be constitutional president and hopefully a Democrat. But they say leopards do not change their spots even when they fall into water. And so even into his second term, or the second half as constitutional president, he still had this image of a strong man, and people really tended to fear. So when I got it, as I said, I was happy, excited that we'd done it at long last, and with me. And I also felt the people generally were more like prepared to accommodate me with the challenges I had to start with as president.
So, Mr. President, democratically speaking, Ghanaians repose confidence in you that we are charting a new course. We don't want any more one-man rule. We want to choose our own leaders. How was it like that you have to now grab the mantle and move the process democratically forward?
We had to, when I say we, I'm talking of my government, my party, and me. We had to do some very fast footwork to try to study and analyze the macroeconomy, and also to survey the lay of the land, the mood of the people generally. And thankfully, the people were accommodating, as you've said. So, as I said, we had to prioritize governance because the term was only 4 years. And I remember going into a retreat with my government at Gimpa, and there we itemized 4 sectors. One, and all the 5 were sort of based on our quick recovery of the macroeconomy from the doldrums. But after that, we said quick infrastructural rehabilitation to agric. Since over 60% of the population were in agriculture, how do we modernize and commercialize it? Because it tended to be subsistence agriculture. 3, the social sectors, education, healthcare. You would remember at that time, health sector didn't have policy, for instance, and the cynical description of the health sector was cash and carry. If you were hit by disease and you didn't have money, we saw you to the cemetery. So that was, and education was in a very parlor state. So how do you fix those very crucial things for human resource restoration? And then law and order. Again, you would remember the entire National Police Service didn't have more than 100 serviceable vehicles. So there was smuggling all over the place, and people were not confident at all and secure. And then lastly, since my party believed in the private sector, how do we energize the private sector to work with the public sector to rehabilitate the economy? So these were the 5 priorities. And as I said, because the people wanted to encourage us to do the right things, we were able to do these things. And the people, in spite of their difficulties, sort of allowed us, gave us time. They didn't put pressure on us. So in our sense, I would say the honeymoon of 100 days, as other nations do, we got 100 days, all right, plus a bit. And that was what happened.
So how did you sense the mood of people wanting to choose their own leaders, right from the grassroots up to the presidential level? Tell me the mood about the embrace of democracy among Ghanaians during your time.
The mood was always there, even long before I came to office. You remember Ghana came into independence in 1957 on a democratic constitution. One man, one vote, and then the majority vote bringing in the government and all that sort of thing, a multi-party system. But along the way, within 10 years, the nation lost its way. We became a one-party nation with a life president, president for life. But the alternative to the system then, suppose you dare to challenge, you'll be taken into political detention or prison detention for 5 solid years without trial. You know that too. Then the military came in 1996 to remove our first president. Well, they did the only thing they knew, hold power by force. It was a coup d'etat. And then 69, the next civilian regime, constitutional regime came. That's where I cut my political teeth. Professor Buzia. That government was allowed only 2 years, 3 months, and the soldiers came back and knocked us off. And they stayed on from 72 January till 77, or 79 rather, 79. Again, military, the country was kept on jackboots of the military. Then, so the people didn't have a choice, but because of the misgovernance and the failing economy and all that, the people really got nostalgic about returning to constitutional civil rule. So 79, there was a short opportunity, and the failed military regimes allowed the constitutional, return to constitutional rule. I got elected back to parliament. And that government also lasted only 2 years, 3 months, and the soldiers came back.
They like 2 years removal.
That's where the strong man that held the country down for 19 long years, almost 20 years, came on the scene. 82, New Year's Eve was when he staged his coup to come and again hold the country down, till 2000. And it wasn't like the people really liked the military regime, but what could they do? The power had been taken by force, and the man was perceived as a strong man. Nobody would cross him. Till 2000, when the people brought me in. So I'm sure across the nation, everybody was praying that this time the civil constitutional rule would last and last and last. And this is what has happened.
So, Mr. President, looking at it from now on, there was a penchant in the previous past with these military taking power forcefully. What do you see now? It seems there's a prevailing condition of democracy.
Since 92, the promulgation of the current constitution, which to me essentially is very democratic, even though there's this thing about transitional provisions about allowing for coup d'etats more or less giving them amnesty and that sort of thing. The constitution that has lasted since 92 is democratic. And that's what the people have used. And since that time, since the promulgation of 92, Ghana has gone to elections. The one that we are in now, I think it's about the 8th time. And 92, the first time in the history of our country, the sitting government that got beaten at polls transferred power peacefully to me. I held power as the Constitution prescribed, 4-year terms, but if you are lucky, you are repeated, and after second term, no more. So I was fortunate, I got 2 terms. At the end of it, I stepped down. The succeeding regime that came also held power, in a way, 2 terms. Professor Mills, first time they died, then President Mahama came on the scene 1 term, and he got beaten at the polls by President Kufuor. And Mahama also surrendered power according to the constitutional terms. And President Kufuor has finished his term, first term. It seems he's winning, but we are waiting for the Electoral Commission to declare. And so if he's won, then he would continue. And naturally, he's from my party, so I would expect, because we believe we are true Democrats, he would, at the end of his tenure, he would surrender to the choice of the people. We are multi-party. Likely, the people might decide for our party, and whoever my party would bring forward as the presidential candidate then would become president. Or if it's not us, whoever the people would choose would continue. But this constitution, the 4th Republican Constitution, has lasted so far since 92, and it's getting to 30 years now. So it seems this is the way ahead for Ghana. It's the choice of the people. The people have chosen to live in a democratic multi-party.
So, Mr. President, as a statesman and a private citizen, how comfortable are you with the democratic process so far? When you interact with ordinary Ghanaians, how do you feel about what they tell you about the democratic path they are on now?
I think it's cultural with the people generally, and I'm part of the people. So I believe this is how our nation should be governed. It's a normal thing. And if you look at my age, I'm past that generation that would want to experiment with things. If you like, call me conservative, but I'm for multi-party democracy, democratic governance.
So what would you say is the current democratic path Ghana is on now?
It's a sound one, because the people demand accountability of governance and also transparency. The nation is enjoying freedom of expression. The media, we've got so many media houses, FM stations, internet, so forth, and social media. It's not all of them talking with all due respect sense, but that's the way of life. Everybody wants to be counted, and that's how it should be. People do not subscribe to strong men, and I believe that's the way to go.
When I was coming to Ghana, a lot of people are saying Ghanaians like to boast about their democracy and the peaceful election they have. Do you think they are justified in boasting about it?
In a sense, because in as much as other nations we know on our continent, and even outside our continent, would want to feel free and to be expressive and to uphold their identity. When you look especially closer to Ghana, it's not everybody that can say they live in such a country. But in Ghana, we've changed governments, parties, governing parties, I think twice or 3 times already. And I think you'd be hard put to find other places that have done this in peace and with stability in the nation, and with the economy also showing some progress.
So, Mr. President, when you were in power, what were some of the steps you took to respect the state's institutions, to entrench democracy and transparency demanded by Ghanaians, as you spoke about?
It's not just the state institutions. When we talk state institutions, are you talking of the executive presidency?
No, you were the president, so like the police, the legislature, the people, right?
The real solution is in the people. Because the people wanted multi-party democracy, and because I am a Democrat, because my party, the party I led into government, had been in opposition for long years. For instance, since in 1947, when party, and that we were a colony of Britain, when party systems got introduced into the governance of the country in 1947, the first party, UGCC, and my party claims descent from that party. My party didn't have opportunity to come into government, even though we were the pioneering, the tradition, didn't have opportunity till 1969. And when we got that opportunity, it was a parliamentary system then, under Professor Buzia. We held power for only 2 years, 3 months. The soldiers came back and kicked us out. And some of us got landed into political detentions. I suffered it. And from 72 January, when we were kicked out, till 2000, my party didn't get any chance to come back to. And when you are out of government, under, say, military coup d'etat, or under some other government that pretends extreme leftism or whatever, then your mouth is zipped. The media world was virtually moribund, or they were rubber stamps of the powers that be. So naturally, when my side got opportunity in the year 2001, because that's when I took office, the first law we repealed was the criminal libel law that had been in place from even colonial times to zip expression, freedom of thought and expression and association in the polity. And that was the first law my government repealed, because we had suffered under it. We had been deprived expression, and people had gone underground. So we removed it, and that led to the sprouting of the FM station, the many FM station, television stations, with everybody talking and expressing themselves. Many of them are against my government. And even some of my party people in the short term were very angry. I said, you rushed with the repeal of that law too much. But now I think we found our balance, and we are happy that we did that.
Mr. President, when you were in power, I remember you chose some opposition members in your government. What informed that decision? Because academics say it was part of encouraging democracy in Ghana. What informed that?
Well, one, I wanted to grow my party. And I wanted everybody to believe that parties are just, in a way, in practical terms, vehicles to marshal opinions, because governance can be very complex. And for a young country, when you look at the sectors like, say, finance, like the labor front, like sound economic management, and you were talking accountability and transparency, integrity of governance, it can be very complicated. And then there's also factors like tribalism and religious bias and that sort of thing. In a young country that wants to develop holistically and be inclusive of all citizenry. So I thought, and incidentally, when I got the chance to become president, the first round of election, I didn't win one touch. I got 48-point-something% against the certain vice president who challenged me, Professor Mills, who got 44. And into the second round, they decided the winner. All the smaller parties rallied behind me to trounce the sitting governing party and to show appreciation of their support for me. I brought some of their leaders on board with me into government to show that with us, it wasn't going to be the winner taking all. We are there for the people. We are there to be inclusive And we truly believed in the principle of citizenship as the determinant of sovereignty of the nation. So I brought, I remember the CPP candidates. He became a member I made him a minister of state. Then the chairman of another party from the north, Alhaji Isa, brought on board, and other party people. And so that was what I just wanted everybody to feel, that governance should be inclusive, regardless of party so much, or tribe, or religion. Show some competence and come on board and let's govern.
Mm-hmm. What about relationships among other political parties? Because I remember during your term, at one of your parties that I attended when I had come home, I saw a lot of opposition people at your party.
Because they felt at home with us. They disagreed on some principles, but not so deep in disagreements. So they felt comfortable. They didn't feel threatened. And I didn't feel threatened by them either. So we were able to get together and disagree to agree.
So moving forward, would you want to see more of such happening, since it helps entrench
the nation forward? Ghana is blessed in a way. The people are not given to extremes across the nation. And then we are also so well endowed naturally with natural resources and very good people. And if we continue like this, and identifying the strengths of the nation on the economy and society, and working together like on something like a national agenda to really move socially and economically to benefit everybody inclusively, I tell you, this will become a real oasis of peace, stability, and prosperity.
Talking about, do you anticipate that the leaders of all the political parties will come together to try to chart a national course for the country, that irrespective of who comes to power, we have an agenda to develop the country and we're going to...
Well, we are helped by the current constitution. Right. I think, not article, but there's a section within it that talks of the directive principles of the state, which really exhausts, I wouldn't say decrease, but exhausts the principles to follow, to govern, so it's like the entire nation benefiting, regardless of which party is in power. So that is there, right? But we are yet to get to that stage where, across the party lines, all the parties, in spite of their different approaches, would agree that we are governing to benefit everybody along these lines. We may get there.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. President, what do you think other African countries can learn from the Ghanaian democratic experience so far?
We have to be careful, though, not to seem like, use the word boasting. Mm-hmm. You do not want to boast to other sovereign authorities, because they are all sovereign. But we should lead by example. Good governance. The African Union, I'm sure you haven't forgotten, set up the Africa peer review mechanism. Peer review mechanism of governance. The whole of Africa decided that. And incidentally, Ghana was the first country to have been peer reviewed. I think about 2003 or 4, to show quality governance in all sectors of governance. It was education, democracy, rule of law, enterprise, business, finance sector. When you do it and do it right, and say the other people have chosen good leaders or have good leaders who would want to prosper their people, I'm sure they may take a leaf even without their saying so. Because they say now it's the new technologies which enable everybody to see what's happening everywhere. They may take leaves from us and do their own thing. What may not happen is why you go around telling you, come and see me, I'm doing this and that. Nobody would mind you.
Right. So, Mr. President, looking forward, what would you want to see in Ghana's democratic journey? What do you want to see?
Well, the key to transformation truly is education. With sound education and good leadership, and I would stress leadership is critical. I tell you, the vision would be in place, the sense of inclusion would be in place, tolerance would be in place, and of course the constitution should be such as to encourage everybody living in order and together under the law when we work on these principles. And thankfully now Ghana has an educational system from kindergarten all the way right through senior high school level that is free. A child doesn't need to come from a rich home to access quality education all the way through till about time he's entering the university. This would create firmly or embed in the culture of the people equality of opportunity for all the children of the state at the expense of the state. We have this in place. I believe it should be the anchor of democracy. And just recently too, the government under the sitting president also came out, I think towards this election, that into the next terms when he gets declared by the Electoral Commission, he would introduce a student loan scheme even into the tertiary system, where with a student having a national ID, that student, even if he hasn't got the means for himself or from his family, would be admitted into the tertiary institutions to continue with his studies. This, I believe, is the anchor for freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of association, the definition of democracy, to continue to give Ghana the governance that would ensure governors would continue to be accountable and transparent, and the citizens would also be responsible as citizens to play their civic duties for the nation. So we've come some real way to realizing the mechanism to continue with good constitutional governance. We should be, as citizens of Ghana, be humbly proud of our journey so far. We are a young country, only 63 years since independence. And we've come to the point where we are governing ourselves by our choice. We should believe that truly each and every one of us is sovereign. I believe this is why we vote democratically. And if you are sovereign and you want the good life for yourself, for your family, for your nation, then when you are going to the polls, I'm sure you vote sensibly. You vote to send the servant leader to go and deliver quality life for you that would lead to true transformation, good health, good education, good economy, employment generation, and also would respect each other. People with the initiative, private sector people who would take calculated risks in their business, would respect them. Of course, those people would also be expected to be responsible to the state, pay their taxes as they should. But if after doing your civic duties this way, you are able to manage your affairs legitimately to become billionaires, why not? Let them be. So the adage here is that it takes one man to kill the elephant for the entire society to chop. So that's how life should be. So the state would then fix the safety net for those who are not able to say, zoom to the moon and that sort of thing. Also live decently and comfortably here. That's what I believe the entire governance should be about. And it's not beyond the means of Ghana, provided we pursue with education and also give ourselves on sustainable basis good leaders, leaders who are truly human, patriotic, and responsible. So this is the message. So let's pursue education. Let's be good citizens. Let's pick our leaders responsibly. And the future will take care of itself for all of us.
Thank you very much.